1 minute smarter, every market clearer. Welcome to my channel, I'm Claire. Welcome to today's deep dive. If you've been following the global tech power map, you might feel like OpenAI is currently standing atop Mount Olympus, looking down on everyone else. After all, this company single-handedly sparked the global AI craze, boasts nearly 800 million weekly active users, and has seen its valuation soar to a staggering $800 billion. But after reviewing the latest in-depth interviews with Sam Altman, I've discovered a fascinating and somewhat chilling reality. Behind that calm, confident face of the CEO, Altman is actually living every day in a state of life-and-death fear. This fear doesn't stem from a lack of success, but from his profound understanding that, on an exponential growth battlefield, the line between being a leader and a mere survivor is razor-thin. Let's take a closer look at a narrow escape in 2023 that the outside world largely overlooked. In his interviews, Altman displays a rare, almost brutal honesty. He explicitly admitted that if Google had decided to go all in back in 2023, OpenAI's current situation would be dire. In fact, they might have been crushed entirely. That sounds like alarmism, but interestingly, the data suggests this threat didn't come from a gap in high-level technology, but from a dimensionality reduction strike at the level of survival. I found that Altman's awe of the giant's power far exceeds what the general public imagines. To understand this fear, we first have to dismantle Google's distribution moat, which is the deepest in the world. As the overlord of the internet era, Google doesn't just own the money-printing machine known as search. It also controls dozens of flagship products with hundreds of millions of users, like Android, Chrome, Gmail, and Maps. For Google, the AI war is essentially a defensive war. As analyzed in the materials, Google only needed to do one extremely simple thing: plug its Gemini model into its existing product matrix to achieve instant global coverage. Imagine if, during that critical window in 2023, Google had replaced search results with AI answers at any cost, or used its dominance over Android to force Gemini into every phone. Even if OpenAI's products were breathtaking, they likely would have been swallowed by a massive traffic black hole before they even had a chance to establish user habits. In that moment, OpenAI's distribution power was nearly zero, which is why Altman describes that period as a crisis of survival. Interestingly, this sense of urgency led directly to what OpenAI calls a red code status. This term carries special weight in Silicon Valley history. The last time it was widely mentioned was when ChatGPT was first released and Google issued an alarm because its search foundation was shaken. Now, Altman has taken that term back and applied it to himself. I found that he compares this state to the early stages of a pandemic, a very profound and unsettling metaphor. Why a pandemic? Because in Altman's view, the essence of AI competition is counterintuitive, exponential growth. In the early stages of an outbreak, when only 100 people are infected, if you don't take extreme defensive measures, by the time the number hits 1 million, any remedy is too late. The AI field is the same. If you don't block your opponent before their computing power, user data, and model iterations reach a certain tipping point, once they cross that threshold, the resulting self-reinforcing loop will cost you any chance of a comeback. This war mindset has dictated OpenAI's aggressive strategy over the past year. Whether it's the shocking release of Sora or the rapid response to emerging challengers like DeepSeek, the essence isn't showing off technical strength, but seizing that certainty of the first-mover advantage. Digging deeper into the research methods and strategic logic, I found a cognitive war between OpenAI and Google regarding the future of software. This is a very subtle point of contention. Currently, Google adopts an add-on mode, which Altman describes as installing smart appliances in an old house. When you write in Gmail, AI helps you continue the sentence. When you use Docs, it helps you format. The advantage of this mode is that there is almost no learning cost for users, and it maximizes the use of existing traffic assets. But Altman is chasing something completely different: AI-native software. He believes the true AI revolution shouldn't be a sidebar or a plugin within software. Instead, It should be like the leap from PC to the mobile internet, using the characteristics of new technology to reshape interaction. Just as the mobile internet wasn't about shrinking web pages onto a phone screen, but rather using GPS and cameras to redefine life, Altman believes AI should make complex menus and tedious clicks disappear, replaced by natural language communication and AI's deep anticipation of user intent. This is why OpenAI doesn't plan to go head-to-head with Google in the search field. In Altman's logic, the action of searching is itself outdated. If you need an answer, why click 10 blue links and filter them yourself? What you really need is an agent that understands you, gives you direct results, and helps you execute tasks. His strategy is clear. Since Google has an impregnable wall in the old territory, he will simply bypass the wall and build a brand new city on the wasteland. If the new city is attractive enough, the residents of the old city will naturally migrate. Here, I must mention a bizarre but profound analogy Altman made. AI platforms are like toothpaste brands. This is a very sharp business insight. Think about it. When was the last time you switched toothpaste brands? Most people don't actually care about the chemical ingredients. They are just used to a certain taste or packaging, and then they habitually put it in their cart at the supermarket. This is a powerful psychological inertia. Altman believes AI assistants will eventually exhibit this trait. Although current models are iterating by the month, once a user has stored a large amount of conversation history and work documents on an AI platform, and once the AI adapts to the user's language, style, and logic, the cost for the user to migrate to another platform becomes extremely high. This leads to OpenAI's core user retention strategy, deep personalization. He particularly emphasized the importance of the memory function. An ideal AI shouldn't act like a stranger starting from zero in every conversation. It should remember the coding style you like, the project progress you mentioned last week, or even your unique preference for a certain economic concept. When an AI becomes more useful because it remembers you, it creates an incredible stickiness. This stickiness forms the strongest moat for large language models. Even if a competitor releases a model with more parameters or slightly better benchmarks, it's hard for users to leave because switching AIs means you have to retrain it. This switching cost is the real commercial barrier. However, it's interesting to note that the data points show some contradiction here. For example, executives at institutions like Goldman Sachs recently argued that Google has technically overtaken OpenAI, citing Gemini's impressive performance in multimodality and ultra-long context windows. Facing this overtaken rhetoric, Altman remains very calm. He revealed a key internal metric. OpenAI's internal user data has not taken the expected hit. This suggests a clear gap between laboratory benchmarks and the real user experience. Tech media and investors are easily swayed by parameters. But in the eyes of ordinary users, what matters most is which AI understands a vague intent the fastest and which interface is more intuitive. Altman believes OpenAI's accumulation in productization, especially its grasp of user intuition, is still their invisible advantage over Google. He even implicitly criticized the drawbacks of Google as a massive institution, noting that their products often carry a heavy engineer mindset and lack the spark of a product manager. Furthermore, there is a financial gaming logic that cannot be ignored. For Google, AI is a double-edged sword that could very likely damage its existing search advertising business. This cannibalization dilemma causes Google to always be hesitant when pushing for AI nativity. In contrast, OpenAI has no historical baggage. It can throw itself entirely into the destruction of the old order. This attacker stance allows it to show higher user loyalty and activity in internal metrics. But even so, that fear of exponential growth still looms over Altman. In the AI field, the accumulation of advantage is self-reinforcing. More users generate more data, data optimizes the model attracts funding and compute, which leads to more advanced technology, attracting even more users. It's a closed loop. If Google leads by 6 months at a critical juncture, such as the popularization of AI agents, that 6-month lead could quickly widen into an unbridgeable technological gap. So, you can't wait until half your users are gone to fight back. You must use the entire company's strength to block the threat while it's still in the budding stage. This competition strategy requires a leader with almost paranoid foresight. From a broader perspective, Altman's goal clearly isn't to make a simple chat app, but to become the operating system of the AI era. In the PC era, Microsoft held the gateway through Windows. In the mobile era, Apple and Google held it through iOS and Android. In the AI era, whoever provides the assistant that knows the user best and is the most versatile holds the key to all future digital services. If your daily information gathering, decision-making, and even shopping are done through ChatGPT, you might truly no longer need the apps or browsers on your phone. To realize this ambition, OpenAI is facing 3 very real structural challenges. First is the brutal game between cost and efficiency. Data from 2025 shows that despite skyrocketing revenue, OpenAI's computing costs and R&D investment remain at staggering levels. This is preemptive investment. Unlike Google, which sits on tens of billions in annual cash flow, OpenAI must sustain the world's most expensive race without a deep profit core. How to balance the burn rate with commercial sustainability is the sword of Damocles hanging over Altman's head. Second is the inequality of distribution power. OpenAI currently has no hardware terminals of its own, meaning its gross margins and user acquisition costs are largely controlled by Apple and Google. This explains why Altman has been frequently in contact with the hardware supply chain recently. He is trying to break this parasitic relationship. Without a physical entry point, his toothpaste theory always faces the risk of being cut off by the channel owners. Finally, and most thought-provoking, is the internal clash of values. As OpenAI evolves from a pure nonprofit scientific organization into an extreme commercial competitor, internal turmoil is inevitable. Core members like Chief Scientist Ilya Sutskever and Safety Lead Jan Lake have resigned, and their reasons are strikingly consistent. The company is disregarding AI safety in pursuit of product speed and profit. I find this point fascinating. When Altman compares AI to toothpaste, he is actually telling us that in the future, we may be domesticated by an algorithm more easily than we think. Once you are used to the memory and thinking patterns of a specific AI, your own way of thinking might even be reshaped by it. This is not just a commercial moat. It is the ultimate challenge to personal independence. The red code Altman issued is not just for internal employees, but a warning to all observers. In this game of exponential growth, mediocrity is suicide. There is no middle ground. To avoid being crushed, tech giants are iterating at the fastest possible speed. But will this speed cause us to sacrifice something more important, like fundamental ethical scrutiny and safety guarantees? This competition ultimately decides not just which company is more valuable, but who will control the intellectual supply of human civilization for the coming decades. If AI truly becomes the toothpaste of our lives, who defines the ingredients of that toothpaste? Who ensures that the information nutrients we swallow every day are safe and fair? As Altman left us with that warning about preemptive action, at the end of the interview, we are not just choosing a tool. We are participating in a handover of power concerning the reconstruction of civilization. This is an era full of excitement, but also accompanied by a faint fear, and every one of us is already standing within that red code. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Until next time,